Hey, welcome to another great show on Pat's Soundbytes Unplugged podcast. Rocking the world with all kinds of good stuff, usually keeping new music alive. But let me tell you, I used to have black hair. I love all kinds of music all the way back to the 70s. And I got this guy right to my right side, I want to say, with that great band, Orleans, Mr. Lance Hoppen, bassist, vocalist, and they're still the one, and they're still going strong. Lance, how are you today?
I'm good, Pat. I'm looking forward to coming up to New England and New York this coming weekend.
Lance, a guy that went from, I want to say, Long Island to Woodstock, so he's very familiar with our Mid-Hudson Valley area. As he says, he is coming, and the band Orleans, coming to Daryl's house Saturday night, and all the tables are sold out. If you didn't get your tickets, you still got time to get tickets for general admission, darylshouseclub.com or 845-289-0185. Well, Lance, I'm going to say welcome home welcome to the area, back home on Saturday. Has it been a while since you have been in the Hudson Valley area in New York?
My memory is not the best thing about me. But yeah, we frequent the area as often as possible. Of course, the band developed out of Woodstock, New York. We played up and down that thruway and all the Northeast college and club circuit. So yeah, this is like coming home.
Yeah, no, well, we're looking forward to it. There's something about the great music of the 70s, Lance. As I said, I used to have jet black hair, but it's pretty amazing how it continues that folks want to go see bands like yourself and other great bands of Pogo, Little Feat, Firefall, all of them. It's just have you seen a change in the audience, or maybe a more younger crowd that folks are bringing their young kids to see you guys rock the place?
They do bring their kids and actually their grandkids. So, but it's mostly the boomers, but it's multi-generational also at this point.
Lance, I always start off pretty much by asking, where did you find your love for music? Was it family, mom, dad, uncles, aunts, watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan like so many? How did it all start for you, can I ask?
All the above. My parents were musicians. They met on a gig after World War II. My mom was quite gifted. She's a great singer, classically trained pianist, but could play by ear. My dad was a horn player. So we always had music in the house, and it's genetic and also environmental. But all the kids, my older brother Larry was, for 40 years was the backbone of Orleans. My younger brother Lane has been in the band for 25 years. So all three brothers were working side by side for decades, having followed that career path. Yeah.
Was it a pinch me moment when you get, like, I believe Larry or John Hall, our former congressman, a few years back up here, John, give you the call to say, hey, you want to play with us and join this band and see where they were going?
Yeah. So Larry went to school in Ithaca, New York, which is where he met Wells Kelly. John knew Wells from sessions in New York. And when John poached Wells from Larry's band and broke it up, and they started what became Orleans when they invited Larry to join. So the three of them had a trio, and I went to see them a couple of times as they were, in that fledgling form, and they were terrific. But I was still in high school. So I was working all the clubs in Long Island 5 nights a week, but the summer after I got out of school into the fall. And then that October, they were looking to expand because they felt constrained by their size, And so I got the gig on bass. And so the double guitar thing started happening, the 4-part harmony, all that stuff started developing, organically, just as we did it.
I think, or you could probably tell me if I'm right or wrong, the ups and downs of a band in the 70s, and there's so many artists that I've had the pleasure of interviewing, and I'm like, man, I remember you guys had to be so excited when you signed with a label, and I forget, I want to say it was like Edgar Witter or somebody told me, goes, back then a label's really a bank. And we were either drunk, stupid, stoned, whatever, and we're just so excited you signed. And hear a band like yourself, even with the hits of Dance With Me or Still the One, And then I read that you owe money, you're not making any money, you sign a contract that means nothing, you're almost broke or bankrupt, and people, a lot of people don't realize that. It opened my eyes when he said, if you think a label is what it was, it really wasn't. It's really a bank, and if you don't keep the performance up, guess what? You're cut and move to the next one. So
Yeah.
please fill me in.
Well, labels were the conduit. You had to be. That's how it was done. I mean, how else would you get your music out there? You needed a bank, you needed a promoter, you needed distribution, you need all that stuff. So you get a deal, and yeah, the deal it favors the label, but it also, it's how you do your thing. So for the longest time, yeah, record budgets make you go in the hole, and unless you sell a lot, you never fill up that hole. And so there you go. You make your money on the road or whatever. Later on, merchandising. Think about Journey and the corporate thing. Like that's when that came in the 80s. We didn't actually see a royalty for 20 years after Still the One came out.
Wow.
20 years.
Except for like John, who probably wrote the song, right?
Well, writer and publishing, that's a whole nother pool of money, right?
Right.
That's intellectual property. So if you're the writer, yeah, so that's very strong. And then there's the artist royalty, which is for record sales. So that's part of what happens. Everybody pulls to the center, and while you're striving to the same kind of goals. And then when it kind of gets like the haves and the have-nots, and things start to blow up in bands. And that was one of the reasons why John left in 1977. So for the first 5 years, all up, going up, and then with a bunch of success under our belts, just imploded. So that happens, and it was periodic. So he left. We continued. We had a hit with Love Takes Time in our second version, but then the 80s hit. Everything went bad, and it took about 7 years from the time John left till 84, when unfortunately that's when Wells Kelly passed, and that precipitated a memorial service in Ithaca that I couldn't go to, but that's where John and Larry reconnected on stage and enjoyed it so much. We said, well, let's try this again. So we had a standing offer in Nashville to make a record, so we came down here where I live now, and that kicked off a whole new thing through the 85, and it went for a while, and then we put it away. It's like, the whole thing's still the one. We're still having fun. Well, sometimes, yeah, sometimes not.
Right.
And when it's no fun, it's like, okay, put it away. And then it's like, well, let's try this again. Oh, that was really fun. Let's do this for a while. So that cycle happened a few times. And then over the 90s, made some good records, did some good touring, and then fell apart again. And then 2000, ever since 2000, kind of hit our stride, and I stopped thinking like, well, that's the end of that. And then John went to Congress, and he was gone for 4 years. So the whole roster has changed over time, always with 2 or 3 of us carrying it on, and that happened for a while until my brother's unfortunate demise in 2012, right, which really rocked my world. And all I wanted to do was finish the year, which was our 40th year. John came back, other alumni, we got through the gigs. I figured we were done. And somebody stepped up and said, hey, you guys want to tour next year? I got it for you. And so we went into 2013, and then the rest, now it's 2023. Now, having said that, John retired from the road a year ago.
Okay.
March, because none of us getting any younger. He's very active here in Nashville. He's writing and recording. But I'm the guy who's carrying the baton into the future with those we've gathered around me going forward, which is my younger brother Lane, who's got 25 years with us. The other guys are newer, and actually we just lost Fly Amaro, our guitar player.
Oh no, left-handed, backwards.
Yep. Fly had he's got his own issues, health related, and had to come off the road. He'll be fine, but so now and that just happened end of February. So I've had 2 different guys fill that role recently. And as we're coming to Daryl's house, what you're going to see is a quartet, no drums. We do the full band rock thing, right? But this format is semi unplugged. We still have electric guitars and such, but it's scaled down. And it's myself, my brother Lane, our guitar player Tom Lane, who came in a couple of years ago, and subbing actually for the time being is a guy named Mike Sievers, who's a fantastic player, fantastic, and a good friend of mine. And so it's really, it's been, that's why we've been rehearsing so much. It's been a real scramble to not drop the ball, to not default on any gigs, to not look bad. I mean, I have very high standards, so I don't let anything just slide by. So we've been rehearsing, doing gigs, rehearsing, doing gigs, rehearsing, and this is the culmination. This coming weekend, we're playing Manchester, East Greenwich, Rhode Island, and then Daryl's house. And Daryl's house is the kind of the end of the road for this leg. And we're really looking forward to doing a full 90 minutes of this material we've worked up specifically recently, you know, like some of the old and a bunch of new stuff as well. So it's going to be really cool.
It's going to be cool. And you're going to love Daryl's house. Pete does a great job with the sound. And like I said, all the tables are sold out. And I encourage everybody to go out and get your tickets. You know, getting back to my original question there with the whole the money thing, I did notice that I want to say maybe Asylum Records really re-released some of your songs of Dance With Me. It seemed in like 73. And then I want to say, I forget the next album that came out, Let There Be Music, and then Forever. It's like, you know, like you guys lost money, maybe let's re-release them and get that back out there. Because I want to say, it wasn't like ABC took Still the One and went with it. But again, like you said, it was like this up and down and...
Right. Well, our first deal was with ABC Dunhill, right? And so we made our fledgling album quickly, like 2 weeks in Muscle Shoals. And that was a cult favorite. It got us a regional following. But we made a second album and ABC did not like it and they dropped us from the label. But on that album were the first recordings of Let There Be Music and Dance With Me in their fledgling forms. Now, when we got dropped, we went back to New York City, did our showcasing, and got picked up by Asylum, thank God. And Chuck Plotkin, the head of A&R, VP, our producer, heard the merit of those songs. So he bought the re-recording rights to those two tunes. And they wound up on the Let There Be Music album, our first album for Asylum. Let There Be Music was a very minor hit, like 40-something. And Dance With Me, you know, then came through the door behind it and went top 5, basically. Put us on the map. And so that, and then the follow-up album, Waking and Dreaming, had Still the One on it. And that was kind of our pinnacle, you know, in the heyday. And had we not broken up, who knows what would have happened, but we did. And then so I gave you the rest of the story. Now, budgetarily, yeah, we spent a lot of money making those records and we were in debt to the label. And what happened in 90, so Still the One was 76. In 96, Still the One was used in a national radio TV campaign for both Burger King and Toyota at the same time.
Wow.
And that's what, that flush of money was enough to like overflow the pot, right? Finally, like 20 years later. And that's so, you know, we've been getting our twice a year from royalties from that. And there's a thing called Sound Exchange that happened, another source of funds that are collected on behalf of artists, and that's a quarterly thing. So, you know, ever since, so for the last 25 years, you know, it's nice to have mailbox money. It is.
Yeah. I mean, you worked hard for it. You got it. Yeah, I mean, I look at the artists, you know, even I'm not a big fan of this Spotify thing. I read bands, artists, you know, 3 million, 5 million, you know, downstreams or whatever you want to call it. And they're making $10. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, everybody wants to get paid for what they put together, and reading about it. I was just talking to a friend of mine. He's, we used to shoot pool in a local bar, you know, do the whole bar thing. And I see Sony bought like the jukeboxes. So they're trying to get royalties to the artist for years. You know, you go to the diner and you put in a quarter and play whatever, Still the One, but who's getting the royalties for that? I know there's a big push to even try to grab all that to help the musicians that put it all together that we love. I mean, I think it's only fair, you know?
Yeah, well, there are organizations that do that, and sometimes it's a flat license for a restaurant or a church or you know, and it's distributed. But yeah, it's not the best model. It's not the most musician friendly model. But hey, that's capitalism, ain't it?
Yeah, I guess so, right? Before I ask you, I know you guys performed in Woodstock in '94. Was it always an idea to come back to play or record in Woodstock at Bearsville? I think you did Forever in '79 in the record plant up here.
Well, so the two records for Asylum were in L.A. The follow-up, Forever, was done in New York City.
Okay.
And the follow-up to that we did at Wells's cabin, like on his property with a remote truck. And so on and so forth. We did an album in Miami. We did one in Nashville. We did a Ride album, which I think is really, really good in '95. We did that at John's cabin on his property in his studio. So we've done it, and that's basically Bearsville, Woodstock.
Yeah.
Saugerties. So we've done it a bunch of different ways. And most recently, during the lockdowns in 21, we took the first half of the year, we did a Christmas kind of album, remote. Everybody worked in their own home, sent the files into the center. We all learned how to do all that. And I was at the helm, putting it all together with our engineer friend. And so that's the modern way, you know. It's still very cool to get in a room with guys and do it all live and do that. But you can also do it piecemeal and make it feel like it was all done at once. And so, you know, it's a modern world.
Yeah, I mean, we move with the changes. I'm an analog guy, and we get into this digital stuff. And I always ask folks like yourself, I'm not a musician, Lance, but I'm like, I think I got to have everybody in the room with me. I'm afraid I'm going to miss an ingredient. Somebody says, "Hey, Lance, try this on the bass," or, Lane, try that. And you don't have that when you're sending files back and forth. However, on the other side of the note, you're not paying fees to rent a studio for a week and all that stuff. So yeah, what we got is, I mean, I've done so many phoners. I'm like, I had to learn this whole Zoom thing. I'm like, what is this about? So yeah, I guess we move with the changes, Lance.
We got to. Now we got AI. Oh my God. How are we going to keep up with that?
Oh my goodness. So tell me, getting on stage at Woodstock in '94 up in Saugerties, New York, that had to be a pretty cool experience. Hanging out in your backyard and then seeing about 100,000 or so crazy folks out in the I want to say Winston Farm.
Right. It was literally down the road from where we all lived, within a few miles. And so we were the last of the what you could call local bands or regional bands, but first of the national, international bands. We made that transition for them. Unfortunately, we played on the first day before all the rain and the mud,
Oh, yeah.
Like all Woodstocks. But there were about 150,000, I think, there, as far as you could see. And, some people were there that was just starting to happen, like Sheryl Crow and Blues Traveler and, other 90s experiences, right? So we were, it was very cool. We get on the stage and it's a rotating thing, huge. And while one band's playing, you're setting up. And then the whole thing just spins around. And suddenly you're faced with a sea of people. And the sound is so big. It's like, it's surreal, right? So I don't know how long we played. It wasn't all that long. And it just flew by in this kind of, science fiction kind of way. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Was that your biggest show and meaning biggest audience that you performed in front of?
We played a few that were that big. There was an experience we had at the Esplanade on the river in Boston. We played with Hart and Us and Burton Cummings in 1976 probably. And the park is built for like 50,000, but it was a free thing, and it was overrun by more like 150,000. There's an aerial shot of it in this book, and it's just off the chart. So we played for that many people. We played to a handful, like Daryl's house is going to be about 200. So anything in between. And I really like these smaller venues because of the intimacy and the interaction, and you can tell little stories, and you can do that. You can't do that
Yeah, no.
in a stadium. You can yell at people, "Hey!" Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're looking forward to see you guys come in Daryl's house. And as you said, there's something about a more very nice theater, and you're right there. And it had to be good for you. I've been asking this question after the whole COVID thing. I was saying to myself, I don't know if I'm ever going to see a live show back at Daryl's house, or meet an artist with the meet and greets and everybody that I've been the pleasure of meeting. So your first show after COVID, to feel that audience energy had to be like, wow, thank you. It's great to be back, right?
Yeah, we started to work again in the summer of 21, slowly, and things are still not 100%.
Right.
Plus, we used to always come out after a show to the merch table and sign and sell. The line comes through. We don't do that still to this day. Most acts don't, because it's still dodgy. I mean, I didn't get COVID at all until like last month, and I didn't even realize I had it. It was a mild case, but then my road manager got it, and he had a more serious case. So it's still a thing, So
Right.
we've got to be protective, especially I'm 69, and I'm so we just have to protect ourselves.
Yeah,
Yet.
nobody wants to be that guy or girl to say, oh, by the way, you meet them and then your tour is down to nothing because now everybody's got to take time off, and that's I get that. I think I had it right when they were talking about it. We went down to the islands, and I think I got it because I just didn't feel good, and they didn't really know too much about it. But knock on wood, I've been like getting away from it all, but I got the allergies. Welcome to New York. The great state of allergies with pollen and everything else going on with the Four Seasons, but it's all good. But we look forward to seeing you, Lance and Lane. And I want to say you said Tom
and Mike.
and Mike up here at Daryl's house on Saturday night. Get your tickets, general admission. So you got to get there early if you want a spot to stand or have a drink or get even a bite to eat. Daryl's Club.com. Get your tickets, or 845-289-0185. Check out OrleansOnline.net, and you can read all about the great history of the band and a lot that Lance has just shared with us today. And I want to say you guys are on, the band's on Facebook. What is that? Orleans Music?
Orleans Music, yeah.
Excellent. So what can we expect? I know you're rehearsing hard, and we're looking forward to cheering you on, Lance. What can we expect Saturday night?
Well, you're going to get 90 minutes of an eclectic mix of what you already know and what you've never heard. And I guarantee you will enjoy it for sure.
I got to see you guys, I had to be in the 80s somewhere. And I remember, oh my goodness. Well, you had, let there be music, dancing in the moonlight, crazy. Besides the No More Than I Could Handle, I want to say.
Well, that's more recent, but
yeah, that was recent.
All those songs are in the show.
Okay, cool. Well, we look forward to it, Lance. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have, sir.
Absolutely, Pat. Thank you.
Keep rocking and rolling with New Orleans. Go see them. Check them out. Go to that website. And I can't wait for Saturday night, so go get your tickets today.